He said it was remote. That was the aspect of it that attracted me. That was what first drew my interest. The remoteness. That's a buzzard, isn't it? That's a buzzard up there. He said there were buzzards. That was a detail that interested me from the start. You only get buzzards in very remote places.
They look like crows to me.
Yeah, buzzards. He thought it would put me off, you know, the remoteness. He little realised that everything he was saying about the place was attracting my interest.
Perhaps he never wanted us to have it. I don't say you've lost the key.
Not want us to have it. I was determined to have it. I wanted something special for our 50th weekend. Here we are. Bloody key doesn't fit.
Well, don't use so much force. Try pulling it out of factory.
Get out of the way, will you? There you are, I see. Just a question of getting the feel of it. Well, you've got the lot here. This is what I would call the perfect type of traditional moorland cottage. Look at that fireplace. Look at those walls. Those walls are 3 feet thick if they're an inch. You don't get walls like that in your urban environment. Cool in summer, warm in winter. That's your old style of building. You didn't mention the walls. Now, just you come in here and look at this bed. Solid oak. It is absolutely solid oak. They built things to last in those days. My God, it makes you realise how little we really need in life. We spoil ourselves with our massive urban developments.
How do you know if he didn't mention it?
What did you say?
How can you possibly know that they're 3 feet thick? The walls. You talk as if you go around all the time assessing walls.
Never mind the walls. What I'd like to know is why you're set on detracting from the occasion.
Detracting?
I don't know why you've chosen this moment. These few moments, this cottage where we're going to spend our 50th
It
weekend.
just suddenly struck me. The way everything has to be right. You in your belted jacket for the country. And the walls being 3 feet thick.
Come to think of it, I believe he did mention the walls.
And I have to be just right too, don't I?
Oh, tired, darling. It's been a tiring drive.
I don't understand anything.
What women never appreciate is the feeling a man always has of having to come up to scratch, to meet the challenge. The onus is on him. He grows up with it. Everything depends upon his ability to cope, his expertise.
Don't answer it.
Of course I'm going to answer it. Good afternoon.
Oh. I wondered if I could have a drink of water.
Oh, certainly. It's all right. Chap wants a drink of water.
Aren't you going to ask him in? Would you like to come in?
Thank you.
It's quite unexpected having a visitor here. We've only just arrived ourselves.
Oh, there you are. Good, good. This is my wife.
How do you do?
I can't get any water. Tap doesn't seem to work.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Disturbing us? No. Of course you're not disturbing us. We are not so easily disturbed. Chap comes to the door asking for a glass of water. That's all it is to me. I am a man who takes life as he finds it. I'm a pragmatist. That is the basis of the British cat.
First I've heard of it. You usually just ignore what doesn't fit.
I couldn't get any water. There must be a blockage somewhere.
Doesn't matter.
No, just a minute. This is ridiculous. We're surely not going to spend the weekend here without water.
No, not a bit of it. There is a stream below the cottage at the bottom of the field. Now, he said it was good drinking water. He said it was the best he could find. It's perfectly pure, you see. You couldn't get purer water than that, straight off the moor. Cold, of course, like ice. As a matter of fact, it was one of the things about the cottage that drew my interest from the beginning when he was talking about it, I mean.
Yes, but there must be some way of getting the water up here.
Buckets.
I beg your pardon.
Buckets, shoulders to the wheel, down to the stream with buckets.
If you think that...
Now, this is the real stuff. This is pure water. You go down there and you dip your bucket into water that has not been through any cycling process.
Look, let me make this quite plain. I am not going lumbering up and down with buckets just so that your 50th weekend can be a success. This is our 50th weekend. Robert ticks them off. He always knows how much and how many.
My wife and I are inveterate weekenders. We draw our bow at a venture. We've had some good times, haven't we?
Marvellous.
I was laughed about it afterwards. You can't say we haven't enjoyed it sometimes.
We're talking about 10 years. It would be odd if there wasn't something to look back on. But it's just fragments. I'm not there, really. Not as a whole person. We can't be far from the coast here. There were a lot of seagulls about when we arrived.
Buzzards!
Have you tried the pump? For the water, I mean.
I don't believe he mentioned a pump.
Well, he must have done. It just didn't fit in with your scheme of things, did it?
Well, it doesn't matter. I can get a drink of water from the stream now that I know it's there.
I'll show you the way. It's just below the cottage.
No. Don't go. Let's try the pump.
Very well. We'll try the pump. It doesn't work. I thought it wouldn't somehow. It wasn't one of the things about the cottage that drew my interest when the place was being described to me.
All it wants is priming.
Priming? And what is priming?
Hasn't been used for a long time. It's dried up. No suction.
I'm going down with the buckets. In my opinion, you'd be wasting your time.
Where's Robert?
He's gone down to the stream with buckets.
Yes, I thought somehow that's the way it would end. My husband is an imaginative man, but what he imagines becomes part of the universe as soon as he's imagined it, if you see what I mean.
I think so, yes. That's the creative temperament, isn't it?
Yes, you could call it that, I suppose.
I like to see things more in terms of function. I'm an entomologist. Amateur, of course. Oh, it's coming up now.
What?
Limpid stream. When you get interested in the hairs on a beetle's legs, you really...
Really what?
Well, you're looking at things as they really are.
I believe you're criticising my husband. Behind his back, too. What are you doing?
Filling the storage tank.
Can I have a go?
By all means.
Oh, it's a bit stiff, isn't it?
Let me help you.
Why does a beetle have hairs on its legs? No, on second thoughts, don't tell me.
Have you any children?
No? Why?
I wonder, that's all.
Perhaps Perhaps you're beginning to see me in terms of function, like the Beatles. I wonder if the taps in the kitchen will work yet.
No, I'll have to pump a bit more.
Well, I'll go and get the tea things ready while you're doing that. I expect you'd like a cup of tea.
Yes, thanks.
Or do you see that as functional too?
What?
Having tea. A ritual designed to send out signals of non-aggression to members of the same species.
I wouldn't need anything so elaborate to signal mine to you.
Oh, there you are, darling. What a long time you've been. Would you like a cup of tea?
Where did you get the water?
We got the pump to work. We primed it and the water started coming.
I see. Well done, old man. I thought it was out of commission myself.
What took you so long?
Well, in the light of what you've just told me, it is of merely academic interest now, but if you want to know, if you really want to know, that stream is not easy of access. It is fenced off, no doubt, because of the presence of animals. You have to make a fairly wide detour to get down to it. Banks are rather slippery, too. I fell in, as a matter of fact. Luckily, I had my Wellingtons on, but some water did get in over the top. It'll be easier next time, now that I know the ropes.
Next time? There's no need to go back there again for water. The tap's working now, thanks to this gentleman.
You and this gentleman may do as you please. As far as I am concerned, the source of water remains that stream. I shall continue to get my supplies from there.
You're in a bit of a mess, aren't you? Hadn't you better go and get changed?
That was my intention.
Perhaps after all it was a mistake to get the pump working.
No, I don't think so. There are no birds at all in the sky now, so there'll always be buzzards. Not a mistake at all. Quite the contrary, in fact. Of course, you don't know anything about us, do you? You're a naturalist, interested in broad movements, generalizations.
Yes.
Well, I'm a specific woman, you see. And this is a specific conversation, so perhaps you're not equipped to deal with it. But let me tell you here and now that nothing better could have happened than your arriving when you did. In all our weekends, you're the first completely unmanageable thing that's ever happened. Would you care to come for a stroll?
By all means. Pleasure.
Why the hell did you ask him to stay?
Oh, I thought it was the least we could do. After all, he got the pump going for us.
To hell with the pump.
And he gave me some interesting information about the Lepidoptera.
What's he doing wandering around these moors? That's what I'd like to know. Nowhere to go. He's a man without destination. I knew the moment I set eyes on him there was something amiss. I have a pretty shrewd instinct in these matters. Call it a hunch if you like. But that man is not to be trusted.
He seemed all right to me. Anyway, I'm glad he's here because it's something you can't control.
I don't know what's got into you this weekend. These weekends would mean nothing. Absolutely nothing without you. Where did you get the wood?
Oh, here and there around the place. There was some near the pump.
I see. Near the pump. Neither fire nor water present you with any problems, do they, old boy? He's at home with both elements.
I better get on with the supper. Will you pour us a drink?
Have you got time for a spot of vino, darling?
Yes, I think so. He didn't bring any glasses, you know.
Well, there must be glasses. He said it was fully equipped. It was one of the things about it.
I'll see what I can find.
What have you got in that box? sort of insect, is it?
Yes.
You're on a walking holiday, I gather. Looking for specimens and so forth, eh?
Well, that's the main purpose, yes.
You have some other end in view as well, have you?
Other end in view?
Well, isn't that what you said? Isn't that what you just said?
I meant I also enjoy the walking and the fresh air. It's a hobby that gets you out and about.
Yes. I dare say it does.
Here we are.
Ah, good. Now for a spot of the old vino. Our friend has some sort of insect or another in a box.
Do show us. What is it?
Dixippus.
What an extraordinary looking thing.
It's only plonk, I'm afraid. What on earth is that?
It's got a face like a person. Reminds me of someone I know.
Not very lively, is it?
They may become immobile when threatened. It's a sort of auto-hypnosis.
Or like feigning death, you mean?
Something like that, yes. Some caterpillars react in the same way.
Cheers.
Cheers. The common name is stick insect. In hot countries, it goes paler in colour as the light strikes its eyes. They go through certain colour changes, too, for reasons of camouflage.
Why don't they simply close their eyes?
They can't. Their eyes are open all the time.
Imagine not being able to close your eyes. I think that's the most grotesque thing I've ever seen in my life.
This one's particularly interesting. If you look closely at it, you see it's got little red things.
Oh, yes, like seeds.
They're parasites. Looks as though they're eating him.
That's horrible.
What is the point of carrying the thing around?
Point of it, but it's very interesting. This is what happens. No good shutting your eyes to what's taking place in the universe.
They can't shut their eyes to what's happening. Imagine what it must be like to be that creature. Here in this room now, pretending to be dead, helplessly, pointlessly getting paler because of the light striking your permanently open eyes, and all the time being eaten alive by things you know nothing about. God's sake, put it back in its box.
Very well. Better to put it out of its misery.
That doesn't solve anything.
Bloody unhealthy, that's what I call it.
We must learn to look at things as they are, not as we like them to be. You realise what you're saying, don't you?
What am I saying?
Well, you're saying if you can't assimilate a thing and you can't ignore it, your best course of action is to crush it underfoot.
I'm not saying anything of the bloody sort. I'm saying it's bloody unhealthy, that's all. Must be something wrong with the fellow who carried it.
Help in the kitchen.
That was an excellent meal.
Very good, my dear, very good indeed.
Will it feature in your recollections of the weekend? I mean, when the weekend is safely over, behind you, safe in your memory of it, with all its manifold challenges met by you. Appropriately met, of course, that goes without saying.
I do believe the wine has gone to your head.
The candlelight, the rural ambiance, your adventures down at the stream, the piquant arrival of a third party. You're a third party, did you know that? How does it feel?
I feel much the same as I did when I was a first party on my own on the moor. No, that's not true. I feel changed in some way through having met you.
Really?
Yes.
That is poppycock, old man, if you don't mind my saying so. Other people don't change us. They make us more ourselves.
There speaks the egoist. Everything you do, everyone you meet, makes you more you. I couldn't have put it better myself.
You are talking wildly.
But you're scared underneath. You're scared that a chunk of this weekend might not be digestible. That here, tonight, something might happen that could never be part of your creation. Well, you can put the buzzards in the sky and you can put me where you like when we're alone, but we're not alone tonight.
My wife is overtired, I think. The journey down, you know, an early night is what she needs. I don't want to hurry you away, of course, but I dare say you, too, would like to be pushing on across country to your next port of call.
I've asked him to stay the night. I've asked him to stay.
We only have one bedroom.
Well, he can sleep in here. Can't you? On the rug in front of the fire. You can, can't you? And we can let him have a couple of blankets. After all, the cottage is fully equipped. It was one of the things about it that attracted your interest from the start, wasn't it? Anyway, he's already accepted our hospitality for the night. Haven't you?
It's very kind of you. I wouldn't wish to disturb you, of course.
Oh, Robert is not disturbed. Are you, dear? Robert is a pragmatist. It's the basis of the British character.
He's not in his right mind. He's a sadist, for one thing. He took pleasure in that poor creature's plight. I could see it in his eyes. What's the point of it anyway, always dwelling on the seamy side of things? I mean, we've got enough troubles of our own without carrying them around in little boxes. Did you notice his eyes? Pupils were enormously dilated. There's a sure sign of instability. I've seen that look before. Are you awake, Beatrice? I wouldn't put too much confidence in that fellow if I were you. I still don't know why you asked him to stay. You've got a strong maternal instinct, of course, I've always known that. And he brings it out in you, doesn't he? I respect you for it, actually. But, you know, he has been a disruptive influence. I mean, take that business with the pump. I mean, I didn't want to bother with the pump, really. He ought to have known that. I wanted to go down and get the water out of the stream. I know I made a bit of a mess of it, falling about and all that, but that's all part of the game, isn't it? Well, that is part of the process. To me, that is part of the process. That's how we've always tackled things on our weekends, isn't it? Taking things as they came and taking things in our stride. What did you mean when you said this weekend might have something indigestible in it for me? That's a funny thing to say. I couldn't quite make out your meaning. But then, you've been strange since we got here. I'm not criticizing you, of course. I wanted to know that I trust you implicitly. I dare say it's a bit inhibiting for you, isn't it? Having that fellow through there. I mean, you'd hear everything to him. Yes. Bit off-putting, I dare say you find it. I understand. I am capable of self-discipline. We'll laugh about this afterwards. We'll laugh about it together.
be out in a moment.
No, you won't. You're afraid, aren't you?
My God, he's coming out now.
I tell you, he won't come out. He knows I'm here. But he won't come out. He can't. He's afraid of what he might find. He can't afford to come out. Because what is here is undeniable, you see. Are you sure you won't stay for breakfast?
And the three of us sitting there, watching him squirm.
You said yourself that we shouldn't shut our eyes to things.
I didn't say we should add to the suffering. You know, you never asked me my name.
I don't want to know it. Or anything else about you.
I thought perhaps we might meet again.
There would be no point. I'm afraid that you'd imagine you were consoling an unhappy wife, and you'd be quite wrong. There is no consolation in you. Besides, I don't like you very much. I didn't to start with. And I like you even less now that you've aided me in hurting him.
But I thought...
I love my husband.
I'd be sorry for anyone you hated. Still, I suppose I've benefited.
Benefited? Oh, you mean that? Well, I hope you enjoyed it. As far as I'm concerned, what happened between us last night was not a deed, but a fact. That's how I regard it, as a fact. Unmanageable for him, useless to you, but of enormous value to me.
I think, on the whole, I prefer insects.
When I went in this morning to get my clothes, he pretended to be asleep, which was predictable. When you've gone, he will come out, we will talk, and I will make him see.
You won't turn into a more important person than you are already just by hurting other people.
I'm not trying to be important. I'm trying to survive. I'm just trying to survive as a person who is separate and intractable, and not an element in somebody else's scheme of things. Now, that doesn't sound very ambitious, does it? But it's very difficult for a woman. You've no idea how difficult it can be. Most of us end up like that stick insect of yours, feigning and camouflaging away like mad, and all the time in the palm of somebody's hand. But this time, you came knocking on our door. The perfect instrument, really.
You said you were a specific woman. But there's nothing very original about what you've done. Using one person to damage another, that's pretty general, isn't it?
You must take whichever version you best get on with. I don't mind which. Goodbye.